Hi guys, Mr. Moore here. Coming at you with a new video lesson for this week. We're going to be focusing on the conditional tense a little bit more. We do have some vocabulary that uses the conditional tense or variations thereof, but the main focus is just working with and using this new tense. Now, before we get too far into anything, I should probably let you know that's very similar to something we did earlier this year in what we call the future tense. That's basically, in terms of mechanics, it's when you would use the infinitive form and you would just attach endings to the end of it. You wouldn't drop the AR, ER, IR like we do in other types of conjugations. You actually leave the AR, ER, IR on. Sometimes they would just call it the future stem because there were a few irregular versions of that. Now, one positive thing about this, you're going to see in a few minutes, is that the future stems are the same in the conditional sense. Like, for example, for hacer, it wasn't, haceré for I will do or I will make. It was haré. It was like an irregular stem for that. And there was a list of about 8 to 10 of those. It's the same 8 to 10, so we don't have to relearn a new thing. It has been a while since we've discussed it, though, so it might, look a little bit new for you. So we're just going to work through the process. I'm going to read some things to you. I'm going to do some pronunciation of the vocabulary as well. Now, if you have questions on either deeper meaning, cognates, greater explanation of some of the grammar, feel free to email me, let me know, call me, anything along those lines. Any way that you would normally get in touch with me, feel free to do so. And if you are involved in one of our in-person classes, of course, you can let me know in person too. So let's go ahead and dive right in, shall we? So starting out here, and I'll have to move this down in a moment. Conditional tense. The conditional is used to express what would happen as opposed to what usually does happen. So when we say what would happen, these are things like I would go to the party, what would you do, and things like that. So that's whenever you use that as a condition, like what would happen if this other thing were to occur. First example, yo iría a la fiesta. All right, so I would go to the party. Notice that in the conjugation we have the verb ir, which is left in its infinitive, and then this is what we have for the conditional ending there, okay? But yo iría a la fiesta, I will go to the party. Another example in a question form is ¿Qué harías entonces? What would you do then? Now this is the tu form conjugation in the conditional for hacer. Notice that the stem in this case for hacer, or the future stem, is the same as what we call the conditional stem. So it's a little irregular. Instead of saying hacerías, it's harías. And I'll show you that list of ones that have those irregulars in just a few minutes. Okay, let's move on. I'm going to have to move myself in the process. So here I go. Whoa, there we go. Okay. The regular conditional consists of the future stem plus one set of endings for all verbs. That's another great thing about both future tense and also about conditionals. You don't have to differentiate between AR, ER, and IR verbs. They all remain the same. So if you look at these, no matter whether you have ayudar, an AR verb, leer, which is an ER verb, preferir, an IR verb, notice that the endings are the same for all of them. In correct conjugation, descending order, you have ia, ias, ia, iamos, iais, and ian. So there they are. So for example, for to help, ayudar, if I want to say I would help, you would help, he or she would help, we would help, you all would help, they would help, you have ayudaría, ayudarías, ayudaría, ayudaríamos, fun one to pronounce, ayudaríais, also a little more fun, and then ayudaría. So those can be a little challenging for pronunciation purposes, but in terms of spelling purposes, they're quite simple and straightforward. Just the stem, the verb, the infinitive, however you want to look at it, plus the ia endings to them. Another way to look at these is these are kind of similar to imperfect tenses as well, or only the abas and the ias. They're very similar to ER and IR verb endings for those. So just another way to help you sort of remember it. Now again, pronunciation can be a little bit difficult, especially when you have a diphthong like leer. You have leería, leerías, leería, leeríamos, leeríais, and leerían. So that has a little bit of dynamic to it that you'll have to practice a little bit more, of course, on your own and in person. Preferir, to prefer, a phrase like I would prefer, you would prefer, he or she would prefer, we would prefer, you all would prefer, they would prefer, etc. Okay, so preferiría, preferirías, preferiría, preferiríamos, that's a great one to pronounce, preferiríais, and then preferirían. So go ahead and practice those on your own. Maybe pause this, try to practice it, try to work through it super slowly, about 4 or 5 times until you get a little bit more confident with it, and then it comes a little bit more natural after that point. Moving on. Just a couple more of these. Conditional poder is often used to soften a request. Okay, you know that poder is to be able to, right? So if you were to use it in the conditional tense, like podrías hacerme un favor, it's like instead of saying can you do me a favor, it's like saying would you do me a favor? So you're asking in sort of a soft, nuanced way. And again, poder is an irregular future and conditional tense. So that's why it's not podrías, it's podrías. Now, I keep talking about these irregulars and these, the future stems, the conditional stems that are a little different from all the regulars. Here they are, coming up. So this is the big list of those right here. Okay, so for caber you have cabr, instead of decir you have dir, instead of hacer you have ar, instead of haber you have abr, instead of querer you have quer, instead of saber you have saber, instead of poder you have podre, and then moving on in the same order, saudre, pondre, vendre, tendre, and valdre. Okay, so if you were to look at these and use tener, for example, in the conditional tense, to have, and you want to say, I would have, you would have, he or she would have, etc. Instead of saying tenería, tenerias, you'd say tendría, tendrías, tendría, tendríamos, tendrías, and tendrían. So try to wrap your head around that a little bit. Again, if it's not something that makes sense to you or you need a little bit more in-depth, feel free to contact me. I'd love to help you out. Okay, let's move on to vocab, that is. All right, expressing assumptions, me imagino. Okay, now I'm trying usually not to go through the definitions for each one of these because you have all of the definitions easily available in the back of your book, and hopefully you're just writing them down as a quick reference and as a practice. You can also look them up online or in a dictionary or anything along those lines, but every once in a while I do like to mention that these are heavy, strong cognates that you should recognize, like me imagino, okay, I imagine that. Well, it has the word imagine kind of already in there. So I'm hoping that you see something like supongo que, I suppose that. Well, again, it has a very similar beginning as suppose. So hopefully these cognates are jumping out at you. Tengo entendido que is I understand that. Now, it's kind of a weird version of it because it technically translates to I have understanding that. So you have to work around that and generally translate instead of always literally, right? Tengo la impresión de que, I have the impression of, let's go ahead and do a few more here. First one is si fueras, not se fueras, so let me fix that for you right there. And we'll fix it for future work as well. There we go. Okay, so si fueras, which is if you were. Que harías is what would you do. Notice that these are in the these are in the conditional tense as well. Si pudiera, which is if I could also be technically if he or she could. Vivería is I would live. Si pudieras, ¿a dónde irías? Si tuviera, and compraría. Again, you want to just work through those and practice pronouncing them a few minutes as well. Some of them can be a little bit difficult at first. I know the first time I saw irías, I had to kind of change the way that I use my lips and tongue to pronounce things a little bit more. You have to kind of overwork your mouth to get these corrected the first few times. Okay, let's go ahead and continue. La actitud hacia is the attitude towards something. Notice has the word actitud that just looks like attitude. Apreciar, to appreciate something, okay? Or if you're English, to appreciate something. We'll go ahead with the rest of these, just pronunciation only. Combatir, contra, again, hopefully you guys are seeing the cognates in these. Darse cuenta de, la discriminación, estereotipar, el estereotipo, la falta de, la ignorancia, juzgar, la minoría, el prejuicio, respetar, el respeto hacia, y tratar. So again, I hope that gives you something to listen to and help you pronounce a little bit better as well. I'd like you to continue practicing that on your own, and hopefully that helps you with spelling a little bit down the line too. Absolutely chock full of cognates, this chapter. Hopefully that was helpful for you. I hope that you don't find the conditional tense to be too horribly difficult. I find it to be one of the easier tenses to wrap one's head around. So again, if you have any other questions or need anything, make sure to either call, email, or otherwise contact me. I hope things are going well for you. Ciao, adios, y hasta luego.